good Wednesday morning. This is brutal. I don't know what the hell's going on. I had the hiccups. My voice disappeared out of nowhere this morning. Everything's falling apart. The Mets are falling apart. The Knicks are falling apart. The Devils are falling apart. I'm falling apart. Why? This is what I get. This is karma for making fun of Popovich yesterday. I made fun of your Popovich, and then I can't get through anything today. I can't talk. Why?
I don't know.
I sounded fine yesterday. Today I come in, I've got my throat's gone, and I'm hiccuping. Anyway, Max Scherzer's got a bad neck. So we were talking about a back potentially, a scapula potentially, and then it ended up being neck spasms yesterday. And by the way, I'd love to know all those Mets fans that were out there at the beginning of the season saying, you're too negative. They won 101 games last year, dummy. Hey, dummy, they won 101 games. Where are you today? Because this team stinks. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Okay. Just don't start hiccuping. I mean, you had the uncontrollable hiccups, I was told, for over 20 minutes.
Not 20 minutes. It was more like 10.
I was told it was 20. Scuttlebutt had it at 20.
It felt like 20, but it was more like 10.
Yeah, and I don't know. Do we have any of that, Eddie, or no?
We shall.
Oh, we shall have some.
Yes.
Oh, good. Because it seems like you always have something from me.
That is true.
I'd like to get something from him.
This is total karma.
Yes, it is.
This is a karma spot. This is 100%. I had too much fun with Popovich yesterday,
yes.
And now the throat gods, the radio gods are punishing me for that. And at some point, you will hear me hiccuping trying to do some day chaser reads, and I'm going to have to hopefully finish after the show unless some other ailment pops up. I'm like the Max Scherzer of the Boomer and Geo show this morning.
But no, there's a big difference. You show up and play.
Right.
You're here.
That is true. And I
I don't know
less.
I have no idea what to do. Right, a lot less. I don't know what to tell you about him. I really don't, man. I mean, it's just one thing after the next, and it is frustrating, and I know it's frustrating for him. It's frustrating for us as fans because it's not what was advertised, and the injuries, they happen to athletes all the time. It's, what you're doing when you're on the field and things of that nature, and his over 5 ERA says more than anything. Forget the injuries for a second. I mean, just the performance has been bad, and he knows it. Believe me, he knows it, and we know it. And now out of the blue comes this whole neck stiffness thing. I don't know. Maybe they'll throw him out there on Thursday. I don't know. And move Kodai Senga back, and that would be helpful for Kodai because he needs the extra rest for whatever reason. They're being careful with him. I mean, they couldn't get a key hit last night when they really, really needed it. Canna hits in a double play. The one thing I will say about Mark Canna, he never, again, and I know fans don't really care about this, but it is part and parcel of whether or not a guy is a good teammate.
Yeah.
Because he got pinch hit for the next inning. And they asked him, you got pinch hit, and, how do you feel about that? And they're asking him that question to see if there's some sort of response that they can make into a bigger thing. And he goes, you know what? I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised. You have so many chances, and you got to come through. And I didn't come through when I needed to come through, and I did the worst possible thing that you possibly can do, and that's get into a double play. So there is accountability there on his part, and he's not making $45 million a year, okay? So, and I know that he has gotten off to a really slow start, and the whole team is, with the exception of maybe Nimmo. McNeil's starting to hit now. You get a couple home runs last night from Alvarez and Lindor and Alonso. All that stuff was good. You're playing against a bad team. They have a bad pitching staff. It's just that your pitching staff's worse than theirs.
Right, and this is now another loss to another terrible team as they continue to fall, and the Braves win again, and this team right now is on the verge of getting buried in May. They are, and we always say that anything can happen, blah, 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 too early, but the Braves, they didn't say too early this year. I mean, they're out there and they're kicking ass. Are they going to completely fall apart like the Mets did in the beginning of the season at some point for this thing to even out? I doubt it. And this team is just, they're a mess. I mean, and we should have seen this coming a little bit more. And I remember sitting here off the air and saying to you, like, I don't know, man, this Correa thing. I know they're better. They'll probably make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to win the division. But, oh, my God, over and over and over again, we were talking about this. prior to the season starting. And then I was like, I can't be that negative about it.
I was going to say, by the way, Correa's being booed in Minnesota as we speak.
I know. So that actually, to this point, feels like a bullet that was dodged, because imagine if you spent the money on him and the luxury tax was even higher and the payroll was even higher and then this team was even worse. So this has been David Peterson, who I know you can get all upset about him being terrible, and he has been terrible, but he has no idea he's going to start last night until what? Noon?
Yes, just another
1 p.m.
Just another bad start again.
Yeah, but I mean, he had no idea.
Well,
he didn't know.
He's a sacrificial lamb, and what it points to really the lack of significant depth of any potential starters within the Mets system.
Yep.
That's really what it points to.
And it's been ridiculously tested because of Carrasco, because of Quintana, because of Verlander at the beginning of the season, because of Scherzer now and his suspension and now missing a start because of injury. So go on the IL at this point. I mean, everybody else does, right? Everybody else is on the IL. Why is Max Scherzer trying to fight through this with 3 different injuries? He had back issues, he had neck issues, and he's got a shoulder issue.
You think when he took his physical to sign his big new contract with the Mets, any of this stuff came up?
No, but that was, of course, prior to last year. So a lot of this stuff came up and popped up this year, and he also had the oblique last year, too.
But all of these injuries, including that oblique, he had in other places.
Yeah.
That's what I keep hearing. He ends up with a neck injury. Well, he had this back in 2019 with the Washington Nationals and missed 3 starts.
Yeah,
I mean, so it's not like they didn't know that he had issues and was going to continue to have issues. Very few people. I don't know any people. The older that they get, the healthier they become. You're one of those.
Well,
people.
yeah. Tom Brady, me. Those are really the 2 that come to mind. But yeah, we've seen guys in their late 30s perform in sports better than they ever have. And that's a guy like Aaron Rodgers. It's a guy like Tom Brady, Justin
Verlander last year.
Verlander last year. And so far for the Mets, they have not gotten that from Max Scherzer. They have not gotten that from Justin Verlander. And the rest of the rotation outside of Senga, who's been okay, is a total mess. Tyler McGill, terrible. David Peterson, terrible. Joey Lucchesi, terrible. And really, what do you expect out of those guys? I mean, what can you realistically expect when Carrasco's awful and goes on the IL? Quintana you don't even see, and this depth gets tested in April and May. What do you expect out of them? So this is why Scherzer being a 0 really, really hurts this team.
You have, I'll ask Al to do this because I know Al appreciates little assignments. Al, why don't you add up the amount of money that Quintana, Carrasco, Verlander, and Scherzer all make?
Well, yeah, right. All those guys.
So add
and
it
Senga,
all up,
too.
Al.
Senga.
Well, Senga, at least he's pitching. So
yeah.
I'm talking about the guys that really haven't pitched.
Okay.
Or aren't pitching.
Yeah.
And we can compare those combined salaries to the guys that are pitching.
Yes.
And you'll see the discrepancy or the disparity, I should say.
Yeah. So
and it is a vast valley between who is pitching and who is supposed to be pitching.
And Buck finally gets thrown out of a game. He was right about this. There was no 2 ways about that call. There was interference there on Francisco Lindor. He gets thrown out. You think, maybe that fires up the team as they score some runs towards the end of the game. But it's no surprise that Buck Showalter gets thrown out for the first time ever as a Met in this season, plus that he's been the manager in the midst of this slump, because he's tired of it. He's frustrated. He's annoyed. And I imagine Steve and Alex Cohen are too happy about what's going on here. And now we're going to really see, because last year was the first time that Steve Cohen, really had gone in, and the payroll was right up there, was the biggest in baseball. And then this past year, he really, really went in.
What can you do?
What I'm saying is here. So last year, everything went great up until the end. 101 wins. Now we're going to see, if this continues, what type of owner is Steve Cohen going to be like George Steinbrenner in George Steinbrenner's heyday? Is he going to be firing people? Is he going to be DFAing people? Is he going to be calling down to the dugout in the middle of games? I'm curious to see, because he could just sit back during the regular season last year and then coast. And then obviously it ended terribly, but there was no time in the middle like this. So let's see. Let's see if he goes nuts.
He doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to be like that. He just doesn't, especially with his manager who I'm sure he trusts implicitly.
Yeah.
But when he looks at this team and he says, well, there's no Scherzer, there's no Verlander, there's no Quintana, Carrasco, there's no Carrasco. I mean, like 4/5 of the starting rotation has been gone.
Yeah.
Now, they'll get one of the guys back tonight, but, how long does he last? Hopefully he lasts the rest of the season. I hope so. He seems like, he's the real deal. But, I mean, this is like the drama surrounding Scherzer, the Carrasco fiasco, the Quintana fiasco. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, like, what can you do if you're the owner at this point? It'd be one thing if they were all starting every fifth day and you were losing games.
Yeah, I mean, and at this moment right now, nothing. But if this team is 15 games out at the All-Star break and they're still under 500, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what he ends up doing as he gets closer to the trade deadline. I'm curious because this is a guy who told us when he bought the team, that he wanted to win within the first 5 years. He wanted to be Dodgers East. He wanted to, compete every single year for a championship, and he has proven that with the money that he spent. And these guys are so far are shaping up to be the Jeff Torborg Mets with Bobby Bonilla more so than the Mets that have had success in their history. The worst team money can buy, the 1992 Mets, and the Bobby Bonilla can't wipe the smile off my face Mets. This is what this is shaping up to be.
It looks a lot like it. I don't know what to tell you. It was frustrating because you're thinking they were going to have a big inning somewhere along the line last night. The back end of the bullpen was fine, but this all started with the celebration of Edwin Diaz in the World Baseball Classic. That's when this all started, by the way.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that should have been a sign for the rest of it to come. And then Verlander ended up on the IL in the beginning of the year, right on opening day. We found that out.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, think about it. I mean, you're missing, your $125 million closer. You've been missing your two $43 million starting pitchers. Al, did you come up with a number?
I did. The total for those four pitchers you gave me was about $114 million.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, that's $114 million on the sideline.
Yep.
I don't know what else. And they don't have the depth, and there's no trade options at the moment.
No, and they're not going to be.
Are they going to try to save their season? That will be the big question come the All-Star break and the trading deadline. Are they going to do whatever they can to try to do maybe what the Phillies did last year?
Yeah, and are they going to be good enough to want to buy at that point? Are they going to be within striking distance? That's a question we have to ask right now. They may be completely out of it.
And remember what the Phillies did last year to kind of jumpstart their season.
Yeah, I mean
they fired their manager.
They did right about, I don't know. Was it more? I have to go. When did they fire him? Was it June or was it earlier than that?
I felt like it was earlier than June.
Just Google it.
I am doing that, Eddie.
All right, we will. I mean, you have to show some patience.
It was June 3rd, it looks like. Yeah, June 3rd he was fired.
Now, again.
And they were 22 and 29 at that point.
You're managing with one hand behind your back, but you have guys stealing second base in the, in the eighth inning down to, or ninth inning down 2 runs.
Yeah, you got guys overrunning second base and getting picked off by a throw from right field. You had guys in the beginning of the year not being able to handle the pitch clock and being totally confused by it.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of sloppiness that has gone on. I mean, defensively, they've looked horrendous so far this season.
Sloppiness goes hand in hand with losing.
It does, certainly.
And that's why, man, I don't. Normally, I could come up with some sort of answer. I don't really know I don't know what to say. I mean, it is so bad pitching wise right now. I mean, they and the A's. Watching the A's last night. I mean,
wait. They're not in the same breath as Oakland.
Well, they're close. I mean, in terms of what they're throwing out there right now. This isn't. You don't win these games on paper. You win these games with these guys on the mound.
Yeah, you're right. And there is nothing that you really can do. There's nothing because you can't make the trades at this point. Don't make any sense because nobody is trading anybody until you get closer to the trade deadline. There's nothing in the system that's going to happen. You got to get these guys healthy, and they have to play well. That's it. It's the only way that this team gets back into it. And that's what Buck said the other day. Nobody wants to hear excuses. It's play better. That's the only thing they can do. It's not like there's some sort of quick fix that's going to happen.
All right, so we've been around a long time.
Yeah,
we've seen these. Look, we've been here. I've been here for 16 years, and I got to tell you, I don't know when you pull the plug on this. I mean, how much longer do you go? I guess with the wild card, there's always an opportunity. There's always a chance. There's always a moment in time in the season where maybe you go on, an 11-2 run or something. But I mean, since they were 14-7 and a reasonable 14-7.
Right.
What are they? 3-15?
Yeah, somewhere right around there. And the answer to when you pull the plug on it is, around the trade deadline. You see how far you are out of the wild card. And if it's unattainable and the team is hurt and everybody stinks, then that's when you think about, unloading people if you can. I mean, that's when you start thinking about it. And it's amazing that we're sitting here even saying that, but it's a possibility. They have played that bad. And look who they're losing to. It's not like they went on, some road trip where they're playing the best teams in baseball. It's not like they went to Atlanta, then flew across the country and played L.A., and then went down to San Diego and played the Padres, and then came back and then, had an interleague series against the Rays. It's not like that's what's going on. I mean,
they are 2 games out in the wild card.
Sure. Give them some time.
I know, but I'm just saying, like we sit here this morning where we are lamenting the fact that their starting pitching has been god-awful and injured. And they're 2 games out of the wild card. So if they can somehow keep that within 5 games, I think that, this owner will continue to try to spend money and try to fix things. That I would say. And then maybe Scherzer, after a 6-week stint on the IL, will come back and maybe pitch better after July 1st or whatever. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you other than at the moment right now, I'm like every other Met fan out there. I don't want to lose confidence or belief that the team can actually still do it because there's a long way to go. I mean, a long way to go.
Yeah, but you got to give me a reason. I mean, that's the thing. I keep saying it. There has to be a reason other than time that makes you think they could turn it around. I mean, I know Phillies fans are probably saying the same thing June 3rd, 7 games under 500 when they fired Joe Girardi. But you got to give me another reason other than time because they are not good enough right now. And it's not so much about where they are in the standings. It's how they've played and who they've lost to. Because if this continues, they'll be looking up at 7, 8, 9 teams in the National League. That's where they're going to be.
Yeah, well, all I can tell you is they're 2 games out right now. And they're going to play tougher teams, obviously. They're in a stretch where you are hoping for an 11-2 run.
Yeah, probably going to go 2-11. Yeah. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.